No, I was just gonna say I could go back to talking about armored MMA, where it's dudes in suits of armors with swords and shields in an MMA ring.
I don't think I give a shit about that.
Here's the thing,
which is strange.
Here's the thing. It sounds really chivalrous, classic knights and shit. At one point, they will just throw their swords down and just start fist fighting in gauntlets.
That's funny.
Imagine getting your bell rung while wearing a bell.
I just feel like it's probably full of LARPers or people who burned out of MMA for real.
I couldn't tell you because they're wearing full... But I would imagine to do this, you'd have to be in better shape than the average person. Be able to actually move in a combative way.
The Ren Fair people.
Yeah, the weirdly in shape nerds at Ren Fair.
They gotta be fucking... They gotta be like theater kids, right?
Oh, for sure. And theater kids fuck.
I know. I was tricked. I never knew that.
You should have been a theater kid.
I never knew y'all were porking.
It's crazy.
All I did was wear dope sneakers.
And that didn't get you laid.
No, I just hung out with other dudes all day. The fuck was I doing? They're like, oh, he's got the Jordan 4s. And I was like, yeah. We all just sat in a corner at the lunch table. I was a fucking loser looking back. Like, it's like, oh, these theater kids. You're like, oh, what a bunch of dorks. All they did was, their parents would cheer, and then they would go backstage and suck each other raw. I'm so pissed.
The secrets nobody tells you about... Because here's the thing. All of those like high school set movies were never written by the actual theater kids because they burned out going to drama school and worked at McDonald's.
I know. They were burned out. They were too used up. They're like, I gotta slow down. I've been eating pussy for 3 years straight.
All I was doing was getting high and getting laid all the time.
My lips are chafed. I gotta take a break. I gotta take some orders at McDonald's.
Oh, man. It was an American Beauty callback, if anybody remembers that.
Oh.
We didn't watch American Beauty today. Oh, wait, holy shit. What am I doing? Welcome to KAFM for a very special Halloween episode.
Yeah.
I forgot what we were fucking recording.
Because we started complaining about some shit that's not gonna make air.
Real. Holy shit. So welcome to our first inaugural Halloween episode.
Yeah, we decided very recently, hey, let's do one of these. And so we threw together a gimmick for it because we wanted to do something special for the season.
Yeah, and we only have, with our release schedule, we only got a few more left in the tank for the year, so we wanted to pump out some more, find an excuse to...
So, real quick, do you like Halloween as a
I love Halloween.
You love it?
It was, so growing up, Halloween was my favorite holiday. Like in our house, my dad loved Halloween, my mom loved Halloween. Now, as a very comfortable adult in my sweater and my cardigan here,
You got a good wine mom fit going on right now.
I'm very cozy, and I was drinking my tea earlier. I was very cozy. I would say, legitimately, now that I'm no longer a disdainful little teenager, I would say probably like Christmas, and it is just like the familial thing of like that is the one time a year I get to see family, and it's a very you're indoors, everything is warm and cozy, the house smells like vanilla. I love Christmas, but Halloween is a very close second. Just writing pure nostalgia. So
so Halloween was a big deal. Are you one of those houses that would put up a bunch of decorations?
Oh yeah, we always had tons of decorations. But we were always out during Halloween, so we had this really nice like cherry oak little pedestal table, and we would leave like a skeleton hand holding a bowl of candy out, and nobody ever took it. I'm surprised nobody ever took it because it's like a really nice little side table. But yeah, we would just like leave candy out. But yeah.
Would you put up a sign? Please take one.
No, we never left a sign.
So the first guy just dumped it in his bag.
No, we would come back and there'd still be candy left.
Oh wow, okay.
To be fair, I lived in the fucking boonies, so there's a chance that nobody came.
We never did up the house outdoors for Halloween or everything like that. Inside would be Halloween because that's my brother's birthday.
Oh.
And so it was always a birthday party for me growing up. It was less so like a Halloween event. So we would always have that. And 3 kids, so we were trick-or-treating every year as we were getting older. It died off as we were getting taller, quicker. Died off.
What age did you stop trick-or-treating?
I remember being 14.
It's like freshman in high school or junior high?
I don't think I trick-or-treated in middle school then. I remember I trick-or-treated because I was going with younger kids because my brother would have friends over for birthday. So I could like sneak in where like you want to pretend you're older and you're like, oh, I'm just going because they need an adult with them and you're like 14. So probably around 14. How about you?
Same, probably like 14 or 15. Again, like, so I'm one of the younger ones in my generation of like me and my cousins, but I remember it was the same thing of like, oh, my cousin's kids who are like, you know, friggin' like 5 and 7. It's like the more people we have, the better.
I guess I have to go, and I better bring a trick or treat bag.
And I guess I better dress up in costume. But I mean, I dress every year. I never stopped dressing up for Halloween.
I did.
Because you're lame.
Yeah, my last hurrah I think was a unicorn.
Like half of a unicorn in one of those like big horse costumes.
No, like I was painted half pink, painted half blue with a horn on my head.
Sure this wasn't for Pride?
So, no, my dad would always do us up with, he was really good. He would do us up with, we never bought costumes. He would always like put something together for us.
Sick.
Yeah. So I liked Halloween, but it's my brother's birthday. So as I got out of that Halloween age, it just became more like go to lunch with my brother or something like that. You know, like that's what I would do on Halloween. And then we'd put out candy or something like that. But my interaction would purely be through people knocking on my door.
You guys look like you're having a great night. And you slowly close the door.
Going forward, very recently, I started, and by recently I mean within the last like 2 or so years, kind of like in film school, I started watching a lot of horror movies and really enjoying them.
Yeah.
And with those came obviously like celebrations for horror movies in the month of October. And so I would check out more and more, liking more and more, start seeing them in theaters.
Every year is going to be the anniversary of some horror movie. So there's always going to be a showing, 25th, 30th anniversary showing.
So like last year was The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. This year was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I saw in theaters. And there's just something about it that I've sort of gained this new appreciation for like the Halloween season. And so like this month even, I'm trying to watch a horror movie a day.
Okay, I know a lot of people that do those.
Yeah, and so I'm sort of jumping around and everything, but
are you holding yourself hard to the like one a day, or it's like if you miss a day, I'll just do 2 tomorrow?
Well, I've already done 2 some days, so I've got some leeway. I haven't missed a day yet.
You've banked a couple just in case.
It just happened because like they were in theaters or something. If I miss a day, I miss a day. That's life, Oh no, I was so busy with my real life, I didn't have time to be alone for 2 hours watching a horror movie. But I've gained a new appreciation. So I was just interested. So we always had it. I didn't have it, but I have it now. And there's something about it that's just fun. It's just fun I might dress up this year. I didn't last year. I might do that this year. Who knows?
We'll see.
Well,
here's my big secret. I fucking hate horror movies.
You do?
I hate gore. Jump scares or whatever. Jump scares don't get me. The only time I legitimately like to be scared by a movie is, I think I mentioned this before. I don't know if I mentioned it on KAFM. Slow burns, where if there's a ghost or something, it'll be like out of focus in the corner of a room. I find it way creepier if there's like an ethereal presence that like is always just right there and you can't. I think Insidious did this too.
I don't know if I've seen those.
There was a very like famous, I think the creature in Insidious just looks like Darth Maul, but it's like somebody like moves their head for a second and it's just like there, but they move their head back and it's gone. That shit is what scares me, and that's the kind of scare I like. If it's body horror, if it's gore, I just want to like that. I feel queasy. Like I'm not scared of this. I just want to throw up, and that's not related to being scared. It's just, this is gross.
Do you think there's a movie that could mix the two? Like you'd be scared and you want to throw up?
I haven't found it yet.
I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre might be that for you.
Really?
Yeah, there's parts of that movie that are just like gross to look at. You're just like, oh, not even gore, just like the dirtiness. But then there's also some scares in there. Because I saw that in theaters with someone who had never seen it.
Okay.
And she was freaking out. Like physically, like hands in front of faces jumping and stuff like that. And it was happening a little bit in the crowd in general. It was a decent crowd.
It's a classic. I've never seen it, but I get it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's worth checking out. If nothing else for just like... It's one of those movies where you watch it and you know it's a movie, but it's one of those things where you would sometimes hear some urban legends where it's like, that would really happened. Some of that footage is real. And you're like, oh, I could see why someone would think that with the way this is put together.
Didn't they also say that about Cannibal Holocaust?
Yeah.
And was that...
No, they killed a pig for real in the movie and stuff like that.
But that's sad.
Yeah.
I'd rather kill a pig for food, not entertainment.
Yeah. Seen Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
They killed a cow for real. That at the end is real.
That was real?
I'm pretty sure that's real, yeah. It's part of a ritual thing I think that they were doing, and Coppola's like, film it. Let me see how you do it.
A movie that I liked that did the scary that I like well, Candyman. We saw that in theaters last year.
Oh yeah.
I really liked Candyman.
I like a good... that one's good. I like that 90s, 80s horror, 90s horror, slow burn. Not slow burn, but like the atmospheric.
My favorite horror movie is the Woman in Black remake from 2011 with Daniel Radcliffe.
You've brought that up a couple times. I need to watch it. Maybe I'll get around to that this year.
That's like, oh, he'll be like out in the garden kind of looking at the house and stuff, and like you'll see her in a window out of focus, like she's always there. And the fact that what makes it scary is like, oh, he's not seeing her, oh god, but it's the framing is beautiful in that movie. I think that's just a really nice looking film. We didn't watch any good ones today though. Well,
so
that's not fair.
We were like, what should we do for Halloween?
Trick or treat.
And that pops in our head, and I think it was you said trick or treat would be like one highly rated or like highly recommended horror film and one not recommended, lowly rated
slop garbage. The trick and then the treat. We didn't watch them in that order, I'm coming to realize, though.
No, we watched them in treat or shit.
Treat or trick.
So the first movie was
Trick or Treat,
which you picked because
it was... I mean, it's right there in the name. We're doing Trick or Treat, and it's called Trick or Treat. But I'd heard some good things about it. It's an anthology horror movie from 2007 set on Halloween. And I'd heard generally it's a good anthology. Maybe some of the threads weren't strong or wouldn't be strong enough on their own, but they didn't need to be. It's just, I think it got 80% on Rotten Tomatoes is what it's sitting at right now. So, generally favorable reviews. I still hear people talk about it, 17 years later.
I'd heard of it. I'd never seen it. And I had heard also like positive things. And then I was like, oh, I think I'd heard it's an anthology. And I don't really care for anthology movies. I like kind of just one story. The way it's put together is kind of what I'd like if I'm gonna like an anthology movie. This is closer to what I'd like rather than little vignettes. It's like
characters are connected and characters cross over.
Yeah, sort of a spiral, and we're just like popping into different stories in this, like all centered around this one night.
So I watched 2 movies called Trick or Treat. I think
yeah, you want to talk about your little...
Yeah, so I put on Trick or Treat, and I'm watching this guy deal with his shitty brother who turns out is like sleeping with his wife, and it's like his birthday's like November 1st. It's Halloween night, and the mob shows up and is dealing with him. And I thought,
that's interesting, Duncan. This doesn't sound like anything I remember in that movie.
No. So the weirdest part, the part that legitimately was the weirdest to me, is that everybody was British. Everybody in this movie was British, and I just remember thinking, I'm like, there hasn't been like, oh, it's tense, it's got like some good atmosphere to it, but like, when does that fuck ass kid in the baghead show up, Sam?
American horror classic, like
yeah, like
of the last 20 years, weird.
Yeah, when does that, like, this first vignette is taking a really long time. oh, the movie's been going for an hour? So the Trick or Treat that we watched, both of us watched, is apostrophe R.
Yeah, it's Trick or Treat, like the Toys R Us.
Yeah. I watched Trick or Treat with both letters in or. And it's a thriller from 2019, just about a dude having a bad night. It was fine considering I watched it on accident. It was sunk cost fallacy at the end. Like when I realized I was watching the wrong one.
Did you finish it?
Yeah. I had like 20 minutes left. I was like, fuck, I might as well.
That's really funny. It's really funny you went an hour into that movie.
Yeah.
And then you watch Trick or Treat.
And then I watched Trick or Treat.
The opening, it's like 8 minutes is the first story.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that makes more sense.
And it's immediately like, oh, there's blood. Oh, there's Sam, the kid in the bag head. It's like, oh, this is the one. This is Trick or Treat.
This movie, I don't love.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I would watch it again, I think.
I understand when I was watching it, I was like, oh, it hits every Halloween bit, like point, and every scary point, every little scary beat in Halloween are mixed in here really well to not be overwhelmingly terrifying or scary, not too removed from Halloween. It's all centered around Halloween. This is the perfect season opener. Like, oh, it's October 1st. I want to watch Trick or Treat or something like that. Like, we're finally in the spooky season. It totally makes sense why you would watch this movie. It's
got, like, unassuming axe murder. It's got monster stuff. It's got cult stuff. It's got ghost stories. It does have, like, all of the little, like, you could make a feature length out of any of these concepts. They have made feature lengths out of, a kid's ghost story. Ooh. But like it works in that calling it a setup punchline some of them do kind of have that where there's a setup punchline reveal.
It feels more like a playlist. Great Halloween greatest hits.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, just like that's the style of movie it's made to be.
Yeah, it's got old man Krieg, who's the surly old guy in his house alone.
It's got a werewolf.
It's got werewolves. It's got zombies.
Yeah. It's got
come up out of the muck.
And so the first story, in my opinion, goes on a little too long. We get some introductions of characters that we'll come back to later. What's the first? Like the pre-title card where it's the husband and the wife arguing.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just like waiting and waiting for one of them to get it. And we know they're gonna get it. But the argument also doesn't really make sense. Because she's like, let's take all this shit down. And I'm like, you've done up the whole house. Like, it's a big deal. No one takes down Halloween decorations on Halloween.
Yeah. I think she, like, puts out a pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern light, and he's like, it's tradition.
Yeah.
You gotta leave them on, which I think is also he's kind of dorky and she's kind of mean.
Yeah.
It's like, both of you are terrible for each other. God, I hope a little creature kills you. La gritora.
She's just like, he goes inside and he's like, let's have sex. And she's like, no. And then she's like, on second thought, sure.
Go put the porn on.
Which is also weird. I don't know.
Porn VHS to get in the mood.
Because they're in the mood.
Yeah.
So like...
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I always think that's really weird because it's like, if you're not in the mood, don't have sex. Well... But it's like, we should put the porn.
There's like a middle ground.
Is there?
Yeah. I think there's the mood to get in the mood. Like, you're not fully there.
I could be persuaded.
You want to rev the engine a little bit. I'm not saying put porn on. I'm just saying, like, I think
that's what foreplay is for.
Right. And I think some people put on sex videos as a part of foreplay.
Cucks.
Digi-cuck. You're weak to me. When she said put on the video for a second, I thought they were just going to put on a video of themselves fucking. But then when it was just like basic...
Yeah, put on the video. Sounds like they have a special tape that they made just for them.
And instead it's just some porn. And he puts it on, he's like, nice. I hope my wife's not getting murdered by La Gritora out there.
Yeah, he sits up for a second, looks at the porn on TV, and he's just like, and like reclines back on bed. Cut back to wife getting murdered in the garden.
She's cleaning up the yard some, which is crazy that he didn't help at all, and she's still willing to bang him. She's tearing things off these heads, and we're waiting, and we know something's going to be under one of these things. It goes on just a little too long. She tears off too many of them.
It does, and even like the jump scare, the cloth is in the way. It moves, and she freaks out, and like, oh yeah. There's certainly something.
And when you start hearing the clawing and the shrieking, I legitimately thought it was going to be a fake out and like a raccoon got stuck in there. But then there's blood and you realize she's been killed.
No, it's Sam.
Yeah.
I love that little kid. He's such a terrible, horrible little gremlin.
He is. The husband pulls off the cloth because he hears the noise, and her face is like her head's been removed and put on there. And that's probably the goriest death in the movie. And
yes.
That's what I wanted to get to. When I watched this, I knew you don't like horror movies. I was like, oh, I bet this will be easier for him to enjoy because he doesn't have to worry about anything getting too graphic or too anything.
But the thing is, I didn't know that going into it. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, that kill was fine. I think the thing that grossed me out the most was the second decapitated head we saw.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was probably
I forgot about that.
I think that was probably the grossest one. I think that was the best reveal.
Yeah.
That I really like that story.
Which we'll get to, but I just wanted to point out that was another reason I was like, this is a good spooky season opener.
Yeah.
It's another movie where you can kind of put it on sort of around anyone. Not exactly, but you know what I mean? Like Halloween party, no one's going to get too freaked out. They'll see a decapitated head here or there, but it's Halloween. Like, that's part of the decoration.
Yeah.
It's not just like, you know, someone getting flayed alive or something like that.
Getting blood eagled.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like, oh, my favorite A24 release. And they're like, please.
Well, shut up, it's Halloween. We're watching Dogtooth. This is a different kind of horror.
Just psychological horror only, and no one can leave the room. Trick or treat. And you like open it well, the sex scene of Dogtooth is happening. You know they're brother and sister, right?
TV's at max volume. You hear it before you see it. What?
Sir, please stop playing that in front of my children. Dude, they're brother and sister.
Trick or what? Huh? I don't have anything to close the door.
Oh.
There's people on the couch in the living room just mouthing, help me.
Now we had our second vignette, which is about a teacher, but it opens, well, we did a title crawl, and then we see a very, very chubby little boy.
Yes, okay.
Smashing pumpkins, dragging a huge dirtied sack of candy.
I'm trying to remember the kid's name.
I don't care. I loved this because this is a modern day Augustus Gloom. Like just this gluttonous little pig boy. Just chocolate smeared on his face, dragging his dirty bag of candy.
The costume design was one size too small shirt.
Yes, that says this is my costume because he's putting no effort. Because for this greedy little hog, he just knows today's the day he can ask for chocolate. And he's destroying jack-o'-lanterns that people worked on because he respects nothing. Like, if this movie came out today, there'd be a think piece about how this kid might be problematic. But no, this is good cinema language. Look at this disgusting chubbo slob.
And he's out alone.
Yes.
So you also understand, like, his parents either might be the same way, he doesn't have, good influences.
They don't care. He
He's
has
a
no
brat.
friends because he sucks.
He's a brat.
All he does is he is one of the deadly sins personified. And so then
were all of them personified throughout? Could we break this down?
Is the first one lust? No, it's not. There's another one later that would be lust.
There's one that could be lust.
I don't think so. I think it falls apart immediately.
I don't think wrath is in here. I don't think anybody's mad on Halloween.
Anyway, we also little pig boy, he's smashing pumpkins. He goes up to a house that has a bowl that says take one and immediately starts shoveling it all into his bag. Anyone who does that is dirt. They are lower than anything to me.
Shit person.
It's really simple. You just take one. Or two if it says take a few. But other people exist on Earth besides you.
And then Dylan Baker shows up.
Is that this actor's name?
That's I'm pretty Dylan something. I'm pretty sure it's Dylan Baker.
Has he been in other stuff?
Yeah, I recognize him, but probably TV shows you've never heard of or you've never seen. But he shows up and immediately he something about his face in like the thick rim glasses. He's wearing like a short sleeve white button up with the black tie. He looks like a predator. I texted you while I was watching the movie, this kid's in danger.
Yeah.
I had no idea what kind of danger. I just felt it.
He's dangerous, which is, again, intentional, I think, character design.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, no, is this movie going to get dark in that way? No. Instead, he says, eat away, glutton boy, shovel your face.
He says, like, his first line to the kid, before we even see him, is, that can't be good for your diabetes.
Awesome.
That's his first line.
Fuck this kid.
And then the kid turns and we see a reversal of Dylan Baker and he's just like, I won't tell your parents. And that's why I'm like, okay, guy in the, short sleeve button up offering a lonely kid candy,
But instead, the candy is full of poison. And this fat kid just vomits chocolate and blood to death.
Yeah.
And we cut to this dude burying the kid in the backyard. And I'm going to go through these vignettes or these stories on their own.
Yeah.
Because they're split up a little more in the editing of the movie. Like 2 of them will be happening at once, but I don't remember exactly how.
Yeah, before this scene, we're introduced to the women that like all get costumes at the same time.
Yeah.
But their vignette doesn't play out until later. That's why I said like earlier, we're introduced to all these vignettes and we'll see them later.
Yeah.
But like during this scene in the backyard, we meet his neighbor, played by Brian Cox.
Who's the old man.
Yeah.
And we see him get tackled, which comes into play at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Something attacks him.
His is the last vignette.
Yeah. And so I love, this is my favorite sequence, is when he kills this kid and then he has to bury him in the backyard.
It's very it's funny.
It's very funny.
It's played out for laughs purposefully.
Yeah.
Like his son keeps coming to the window. This little 6-year-old boy is like, Daddy, can we carve the jack-o'-lantern? And he's just like, son, you gotta be quiet. Daddy's busy. It's like, Daddy, can we go to the pumpkin patch this weekend? Daddy's got a date this weekend,
Yeah.
And there's just like this moment where like the kid is like away from the window and he's just like, me, can we carve the pumpkin? Can we do that? Like he's like doing the like middle school making fun of thing to his own kid.
He's trashing his own child. It's hilarious.
Like it's played for laughs.
Yeah, because then he's burying the kid next to other bodies he's buried. Like clearly he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Who poisons people, and his neighbor hears him, and his neighbor's dog's barking, so he's got to play that off. He's got to cut off a finger from the kid and throw it to the dog. And then the kid wakes up because he's too fat to be poisoned by one amount of chocolate is the only assumption I can make. Like they gotta double the dose.
He wakes up and just like, and so Dylan Baker's just beating him with the shovel.
Stomp his kid to death and beat him while he's stuffed in a sack.
Like it sounds horrific, but it's a comedic beat in a horror Halloween movie.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
And the kid stole candy, so by the rules of Halloween movie, he deserves death.
He deserves death.
I'm not saying kill kids in real life, but movies have their own logic. And in this one, the glutton boy gets it. And then he goes inside, and you think he's sick of his son who kept interrupting him. And he goes down to the basement because he's going to carve the jack-o'-lantern with his son. And he's got a knife, and you think he's going to stab his son.
He, like, holds it up, shaking, brings it down. When he brings it back up, it's covered in blood.
Yeah, so you know, because you're expecting the fake out to be he stabs the pumpkin instead. And so you're like waiting for guts, but no, like pumpkin guts on the but no, blood's on the, and you're like, did he just stab this sweet little innocent boy who does have a very innocent face?
Yeah.
And the camera pulls down, and that boy is still alive, and he's smiling like a little devil.
And this was the gross part to me. Cut to reversal
of the severed fat boy's head. And like he's teaching his son to be a serial killer. Like some shit out of Hannibal.
So this confused me because the way that the kid was talking, the kid who is very clearly sick like his dad,
Yeah.
knew that there was a jack-o'-lantern to carve, quote-unquote jack-o'-lantern to carve, which made me think with the object permanence of a child, that the head was already in the basement.
Right.
How was the kid flailing, gasping for life if he had already been decapitated?
He didn't. He just knew they'd be carving a jack-o'-lantern.
Okay. The way that he was talking about it made it sound like this is just a different kid's head.
Maybe it was. I don't.
You're bad with faces.
I'm really bad with faces.
Could have been. This could have been a 45-year-old woman.
Maybe. Either way.
It was a disembodied head, and I thought that was a good reveal.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, shit.
He's raising a little him.
And then what's the next story?
Is this Ghost Story by the lake or in the ravine?
Oh, shit, yeah.
I like this one.
Oh, do you? I was like, okay, let's go.
Handful of kids that we've seen trick-or-treating here and there just throughout the movie, and they're telling ghost stories, and they meet this outcast girl,
They say the word. What word do they say, Duncan?
I'm not at liberty to divulge this information to the police.
Okay.
So they meet this outcast girl, and they're like, oh, why don't you come with us? We'll tell you a ghost story. And they go out to this, it looked like a quarry that had been flooded. And they were talking about, there was a bus driver who only drove around like the worst kids in the neighborhood. Just the fucked up little kids.
Yeah, and when they say worst, they don't mean the bad kids. They mean kids with disabilities and disorders.
They're talking about the short bus.
And this part I was dying laughing
2007.
It's so funny though, the backstory. Like the ghost part with the kids, I was like, oh, whatever. But the backstory being that every parent, all the parents of all the disabled kids got together and pooled together money to pay the short bus driver to drive their kids to the quarry and kill them.
It's so fucking wild.
There wasn't one parent who was like, I don't think so, guys. Like, they got everybody together and they're like, what if all our kids were dead and we paid that guy to do it? And they're like, okay. Like,
that's the logic of the
movie.
movie.
Like, the only issue would be like, how do we do it? Bus driver. How do we pay him? We all pitch in.
How would we get him to do it? Everybody loves money. So yeah, on Halloween, he takes a different bus route. And he's got the kids handcuffed and shackled to the bus seats. And there's a kid, they're all dressed up for Halloween at school. And this kid has been paying attention to like the turns and stuff. And he's like, we went the wrong way.
His special interest is directions.
He's like, we went the wrong way. Like, I want to go home. This is not the way to school. We went the wrong way. The bus driver's going down the road tossing kids candy, and the kid's like, we went the wrong way. He tosses him a second piece of candy to shut up, which he doesn't. And so, yeah, bus driver then floors it off.
No, the kid who knows directions escapes his shackles.
You're right, I'm sorry. How could I
And
forget?
then just freaks out trying to get them to go home and drives them over the ravine, bus driver in tow, and kills them all.
Bus driver makes it, though.
Yes. And that's the quarry that these kids are like, and that's where we're going to go for Halloween, because apparently there's ghosts.
I liked the shot. If I'm remembering, either I'm remembering a shot cooler than it was, I'm giving this film more credit, or this is something it actually did. So the bus driver like crawls out of the muck, and he looks back and he's looking at all these bubbles coming up of like all the kids drowning, and then it pans up the wall of the quarry to the kids standing there, and the girl's like finishing the story. Like, it pans up with her narration.
I think that happens.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I liked that. I thought that worked really well. There's a lot of things in this movie visually that I think work really well, considering like it's, paper thin vignettes of, we're gonna have,
again, paper thin not as an insult, paper thin just as like,
it knows what it wants to be.
Yeah.
I think this film has a very strong identity.
And so then They all go down in the quarry because they're gonna do like their test of courage type of deal, you know.
As they've been trick or treating, they've been asking people for some of their jack-o'-lanterns. You know, it's a scavenger hunt thing, but they're gonna leave these pumpkins down there for the kids that couldn't be there for Halloween.
They go down there, and suddenly they are all split up, and the one outcast girl starts seeing ghosts, and it's very clear to you as the viewer pretty quickly that it's the other kids have pranked her.
Yeah.
They dressed up as ghosts to scare. The reason they included her was so they could take her here and scare her.
And yeah, prank her. A cruel joke by cruel children who deserve death.
And then she falls over and brains herself almost, and they're like, ah, shit. And so then she freaks out when she wakes up, and they're trying to comfort her.
Because then skull's bleeding.
Real ghosts show up.
Real zombies rise out of the muck.
Muck zombies show up. And she runs away into this little elevator, and she leaves all those children for dead. And you hear them getting torn apart.
As is her right.
Sure.
I did notice in this, or I kind of figured out about myself, gore sounds are worse for me. I thought, like, hearing that, because it's like, the imagination is always worse than anything you could see. Yeah. So hearing that, I was like, ugh. Like,
yeah, you hear them.
Yeah, you hear crunch and snaps and
like me going
tear.
into one of them rotisserie chickens.
I gotta get me one of them rotisserie chickens.
They're too good. You'll eat them like 3 children on Halloween. So then, as she's leaving, she sees Sam. Is that his name? His name's Sam?
That's his name. That's his name.
Do they say that in the movie, or is this like a...
That's just a bit of trivia I knew about this movie.
Oh, okay. They see that little boy, and he's like the spirit of Halloween. You're seeing him occasionally when kids are trick-or-treating and whatever. He's like the vengeful side of Halloween.
Yeah, because, I mean, Easter has the Easter Bunny, Christmas has Santa Claus.
Yeah.
There's some holidays that just don't have...
And so this is their kind of little...
Yeah, it's going to be Sam. And it makes sense that it's like a little child.
Why is this Sam?
That's just the name of the kid.
Sam Hain?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Kid's name is just Sam. Ask the director.
Okay. Michael Dougherty, why is he named Sam? I know you're our #1 listener.
Imagine getting a response.
Uh-huh.
And then immediately blocking his email.
I think you should stop this show. Dang it! Anyway, she sees him, and it's a cool little shot because they just both walk by each other. Because she has satiated Halloween. She's committed a murder, so he's okay.
Well, I think it's more so that, like, she's the one getting pranked. You know, Halloween, I think, for the preteen to teen crowd for through the 90s and stuff was, you know, we don't trick or treat anymore. We do pranks. We're going to TP a house, and it's going to, you know, look like ghosts in the trees and stuff. So, like, in terms of, like, satiating the spirit, I don't think she was ever on the radar because she was the victim.
Right.
Of, like, a cruel kid prank.
Okay. But then she also got even, which he likes.
Yeah.
So he's like, you're cool with me. And he walks by her.
He kind of does this.
Yeah. Hang loose, brother. This is this is a cool holiday.
But his hand is, like, that big, so...
You can't see it. And it looks like he's walking over to the quarry to watch that shit go down. Like, to shreds, you say.
And what of his wife?
What's the next little vignette?
Are we to werewolves?
Sure. Early on, you see a woman get sucked dry by a vampire. And then it turns out that man was not a vampire. He was just a serial killer who was wearing fake teeth.
He was just a freak.
Killing women, but he would bite them a little bit. And he follows those women we saw getting costumes earlier to a party. Mm-hmm. And he thinks he's going to kill them.
It's worth noting that these women throughout the movie have been, like, asking men, it's like, hey, later we're going to a party. Do you want to...
Come get laid.
Yeah.
You want to fuck heavy in the woods.
Yeah.
Get some dirt on that butt. Then it turns out this vampire is not a vampire. He's just a trick-or-treater who likes killing women.
He's just a creep.
And we find out he's the serial killing teacher.
That's crazy. This is the date that he had?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And that date is with werewolves.
It's with he comes to consciousness. Did they break his limbs or is he tied up?
She throws him from a tree.
Yeah.
He falls like a story and he shatters his femur.
Yeah, he's laying there. He's like, "Who are you people?" And
werewolves.
Yeah, and honestly, the effects, like the degloving, there's some
tearing off their skin to show muscle that grows fur. It's freaky.
Really good effects.
Yeah.
And like the actual like werewolf masks are a little dopey.
A little goofy.
Yeah. It's like, oh, kind of blew it in the first half of the transformation, didn't you?
But the transformation itself is a cool, neat idea that you'd pull your skin off like a costume. And then so he gets eat to shit. Because the whole time one of the girls is talking about, it's like, it's my first time. It's my first time. And you think she's talking about virginity, but she's actually talking about eating somebody.
Yeah.
Are we at the final vignette now?
I feel like it. If there's one left, it wasn't good enough to be remembered.
Yeah. And the final vignette is we find out that crotchety old neighbor was the bus driver.
Yeah.
And he let all those kids die. And Sam shows up to fuck him up. He does kind of just vaguely Halloween-related horror bits, like throw candy with razor blades in it.
He has a moment where Brian Cox, the old guy, he's like reaching for a bottle to use as a weapon, and like he drops a bunch of candy on him with it. And Sam approaches him with a lollipop. He takes a big bite out of it, so it's like a sharp sickle shape. And Sam like strikes at him, but just grabs a piece of candy, and he's walking away eating the bit of candy on the...
That's when he decides to let him live, after fucking his shit up all over this house, taking a shotgun to the head, to the hand.
I just thought that was really fun. Like,
it
was really endearing.
It wasn't scary, it was just funny. And they take off his bag mask, and what's under there? Pumpkin.
He's a little pumpkin head.
He's a little pumpkin boy. His blood is pumpkin juice.
He's got, like, much like the inside of Sam the Pumpkin Boy, I feel like this movie was squishy with too many threads.
All right, you pulled it together there at the end. Because I didn't get the bus driver's comeuppance. He just has to give out candy on Halloween now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah...
Like, why is his comeuppance not he's torn to shreds?
He was torn to shreds.
Oh, yeah.
At the very end, the ghouls that arose that night of the children that he drowned, you know, ding dong at his fucking door, he opens it up and it's all the zombie kids, trick or treat. Ah.
And then the credit sequence is like comic book panels of him being torn. And he sees Sam, and Sam's like, I'm going to go kill these people across the street. So long.
Yeah, it opens and closes, like the opening and closing sequences are like Pulp Fiction little like single issue comics from like the 30s.
Yeah.
I think it's really strong. And I noticed like when the credits started, the soundtrack is really fucking good. The original score for this movie.
Is it?
It's just the most concentrated, like, this is what Halloween sounds like.
And that's kind of the movie in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's not a bad time. If it was on during a Halloween party or something like that, I'd be like, that makes sense. I don't know that I'll seek it out again because it doesn't have enough for me to latch on to love.
It has a couple bits where it's like, if it's on at a Halloween party, I might sit down for like one of the vignettes. I might like the serial killer one with the head in the basement. I might be like, oh, I'll sit down. I liked this one. I'll watch the 15 minutes of that. And then,
yeah, it's a good party movie.
Yeah.
Smart. We watched another movie. And this was, you picked Trick or Treat as the treat. And then you said you picked something.
I gave you the options.
I'll grab something low rated.
Because I just spit something out that's like, we're doing Trick or Treat as an idea. What if we did Trick or Treat? It was reviewed pretty well, so I guess we need a...
And you had kind of wanted to see it, right?
Yeah.
Or like you had heard about it. And I was like, all right. Well, I went and I checked what's the lowest rated. Because I had a couple ideas and stuff, but what's really fucking low rated? What is we know is going to be bad, but also isn't just like low, like nothing. It was what I was trying to avoid, if you can believe it. And I threw out a couple ideas, but the lowest rated horror movie on Letterboxd is this film.
I saw the ratings. I saw like some 3.8 thousand half-star reviews. It is heavily weighted to like 1.1 stars.
And it came out 2023, and it was a big deal when it came out, kind of like a meme sort of deal or whatever. And I thought, you know what? If we're going to cover it, we could do this right now. We are, of course, talking about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, which came out due to the not lapsed rights, but the...
It entered the public domain.
Entered the public domain because it was 100 years old or whatever.
A.A. Milne's works entered the public domain last year. I think how it works is like 70 years after the author's death.
Okay.
At least that's what I hear is how it works in America, but I think he was British, so I don't know how they're...
Whatever it was, it entered the public domain.
Yeah.
I think in 2023.
I think the day that it entered the public domain, a trailer for this movie came out, means they were working on it in secret, while it wasn't in the public domain.
I don't even know if it has to be in secret. Like
Yeah.
It could just be like under a different production name or something like that.
Sure. Can I say right up top, Winnie the Pooh, if you can tell by the way that I'm dressed all comfy, Winnie the Pooh is like a very like soft, gentle, like that is core. I am 3 years old. Like this is a safe, the 100-Acre Wood was a safe haven for me as a baby.
I remember liking it as a child too.
I like it's when I hear 100 like the music or I see the like Disney characters, like it does elicit a very real, like very base emotion of joy out of me.
So you had mentioned how much it meant to you, and I said, we don't have to watch this.
But I wanted to because I knew it would make me fucking furious. And I'm never truly like mad. I'm usually disappointed when a film is bad. I was so fucking pissed.
Interesting, because I watched this and it was I'm not.
You can't experience the
I can't
whimsy.
experience joy, really. Sort of dead inside. But I at least, when something's for children and someone goes, what if it was edgy and dark?
I hate that shit so much.
I don't like it either. I find it like sort of just embarrassing or like, come on.
That's the best you can do. Winnie the Pooh enters the public domain, and the best we have is this. We don't get any other animation company. Like, what if we tried our hat at this?
Yeah, it's just so like it comes up with the fucking all these superhero movies. The fact that Superman got movies that were like bleak and PG-13 and all about killing, and I was just like, oh my god, like it's for children, dude, just let it be for children. So whether or not I can experience any sort of joy from the husk of a person I am, I was expecting to hate this movie.
Yeah, I
actually really liked it. No, I'm just
that's what to say. I saw your half-star review on Letterboxd.
No, I couldn't even be offended by it for the children because I thought it was so pathetic. I just thought like it couldn't even rise to be embarrassing. Like embarrassing implies I thought you could do better.
So in the trailers, and I saw some reviews on Letterboxd that echoed this sentiment, I thought it was like a serial killer in a mask. No, they are mutant hybrid animal human creatures that exist for no apparent reason.
And it might as well be a serial killer in a mask because it's
they in post-production they did the Deadpool thing, how they make Deadpool's like eyebrows raise even though it's a static mask. If you look, they like make Pooh's ears wiggle a little bit. He smiles sometimes, but it's a static mask.
And you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, did they blow the budget on the costume? If they did, the budget was $100 because the costumes look like shit. They look like shit fuck garbage.
It looks so fucking bad.
It just looks like a dude in a shitty mask.
Like, I think that's what pissed me off the most is like if you're gonna try and do that, like what if it was edgy, stick the fucking landing. Instead of saying, hey everybody, I'm gonna shit myself, and you can't even shit yourself. I'm constipated. No payoff.
And so the movie opens with, hey, Christopher Robin loved the animals, and then he left to go to college, which is really, really funny. Really, really funny, lame explanation. Like,
to go to college to be a doctor.
And then, so they had to eat each other to survive. Yeah.
They said again, showing the budget of this movie, in the opening, it was like, they had to eat Eeyore, and the rest of them, went crazy and vowed never to speak again, all this stuff. And the flashback, there was like 4 or 5 of them left, but we only see 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure you see the other ones in the sequel to this movie that's already out.
Yep, and they're working on a 3rd one.
Yeah. So, I mean, they got what they wanted. I mean, we're talking about it. They got their fucking dollars and cents.
They didn't get shit from me.
Did you watch it on Peacock?
Where?
Peacock?
Is that the free now, pay never?
What?
There's a Pluto. I watched this on Pluto.
Oh, okay. Well, you watch it on a streaming service. They got their dings. It's just, you see all that, and I'm like, oh, okay. Remember 15 years ago or something, where a YouTube video would be like, what if Mario took mushrooms, but it was drugs?
Yeah.
That's this movie. But it's an hour and 20 minutes, and they think they're really they do
like a what's the what's the self-flagellation called, or what's the flagellation in Catholicism called, where it's
self-flagellation?
Well, no, there's like a repentance thing.
Right.
They do that to Christopher Robin. Like, he shows back up and they just like tie him up and they're just whipping him and shit.
We'll get to that real quick.
I'm sorry. I just realized, I'm like, are they trying to make him a Christ figure because he took away their bread and wine?
No. That is implying too much. We'll get to that scene because I want to talk about that. But let's just real quick. So then we see that, and then we immediately go to Christopher Robin has returned to the woods, and he's with his wife, and he's like, it's 5 years later. He's like, listen, you got to meet these talking animals I knew. And she's like, you're kind of fucking insane. And he's like, listen, bitch.
Why do I need to meet your talking animal friends?
They're awesome. I haven't seen them in 5 years. I got to go hang out with them. And they go, and she's like, this is crazy. You just had an imagination as a child.
But the treehouse is actually there. How crazy could he be?
Yeah, and she's like, whoa. And then they go, and immediately...
You see, like, Eeyore's tombstone in the background.
Do you really?
Yeah, there's just, like, a little, like a cross in the ground with, like, his tail hanging off it. Like, that's just in the background.
That's ridiculous.
He didn't point and say, like, that. Why is he dead? He never once talked about it.
They go into Pooh's house, and he comes in and goes to sleep. And they have to escape when he's sleeping.
She looks freaked out.
They just see him, and they're like, what happened to Pooh? Like, it doesn't even follow horror movie conventions. We just see the monster immediately. Before there's any tension. Like, the movie started. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine if fucking Friday the 13th was just Jason in a hockey mask, like, walking by the camera.
He's out by the cabin by the lake, the boathouse. He's got, like, a cigarette dangling from one of the holes in the hockey mask, and the kids up in the cabin are like, who the fuck is that?
We'll get to that. That scene basically happens in this movie. So they escape, but they don't actually, because immediately Pooh wakes up and
goes ballistic,
kills the woman. He takes a chain and he chokes her, which snaps her neck.
No, Piglet kills her.
Okay, so we see them both immediately. Piglet takes a chain and snaps her neck.
What are you doing this for? Why all of his line deliveries are fucking garbo.
Yeah.
What are you doing this for?
I can't believe I don't think the actor could really find a deep interpersonal reason to relate to or deliver these lines.
You don't think?
No. I think he probably wanted a reason to stop sleeping at the bus stop. He's also
left him there.
Speaking of movies where everyone's British for some reason.
It's because Winnie the Pooh is British.
Oh.
A.A. Milne is a British author. It's a British storybook.
That makes more sense. I was wondering why everyone was British. Was this movie made in Britain?
Probably. I mentioned it before when I said that it entered the public.
Them.
The Germans did that twice, and it didn't stop them. It was called the Blitz.
Well... Christopher Robin's immediately dragged, and we go to another title sequence that leads you to believe Christopher Robin is dead immediately.
I checked this opening title sequence where it says Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, 18 minutes into the film.
I was also wanted to point that out. It's so fucking late into the movie.
18 minutes.
Because we get an opening credits, and then we get an opening sequence, then we get an opening fight, and then we've seen everything the movie has to offer. It literally showed you the creatures. It blew its wad before you saw the fucking title sequence.
Yup.
Garbage. Anyway, then we cut to a woman in therapy who's like, I don't know how I'll ever learn to live again. And I was like, is that his wife? Didn't she die? And because again, couldn't really tell them apart.
I also, so the humans for the rest of the movie, the only one I could tell apart is the singular one that wore glasses.
And then you find out, so if you're me, you find out this is a different woman. I thought it was the wife for a little bit.
I had the object permanence to remember that the wife was dead.
Well, she got strangled by a thing and it made a neck snap sound.
Yeah, we saw her head.
But that's such a weird way to die. It's so weird to have a chain around your neck and someone just like half garrotes you with a chain that snaps your neck. That's not really how a death works.
Well, I mean, in hanging people, usually it's like the neck snap is what kills them, not actual strangulation.
Hanging them.
Yeah, this is the same. It's something around the neck. It's the same.
It didn't look right, and so. But anyway, I was like, okay, that must not be. She must be dead. I heard the neck snap sound effect. Maybe this is why I don't like movies that everyone likes, because this is how I watch movies. I have to retroactively figure out who is what character a lot of the time.
So this was written, directed, and edited by the same guy.
Oh, yeah?
He was his own editor. So I'm just imagining him in the editing bay, like, hang on, I gotta put a twig snap sound effect over the neck so they know she's dead.
They do, because that kill looks like shit.
Yeah, it's like the lighting's really bad because there's a huge bonfire in the back, so it's all like rim lighting on everything. And
They thought that shit looked good, by the way. The way they cut to that, where it's day and that hard cuts to night, they thought that was a good cut.
I liked it.
It's straight out of Hereditary.
I never saw Hereditary. I saw one Ari Aster, and I'm like,
So you're giving this a plus? You liked that cut?
sure, because I have not seen Hereditary.
Okay.
Want to see Hereditary? I'm going to say they ripped off Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 5 years early.
So, oh, fuck. Who even knows what happens? Oh, she goes to get together 5 women, and they're like, we're going to go on a retreat into these woods. That then the camera pans down and shows for the second time it's the 100-acre woods. But it's like, yeah, no shit. It's the movie. This isn't a reveal.
Yeah. Well, it's wasn't it a getaway for her? It's like, we're all going to just decompress in the woods for a bit. It'll be a great
Because she's
weekend.
had some trauma, and you're trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And then they immediately tell you. They get to their Verbo, and they're like, all right.
There was a creepy dude breaking into my house. Like, legitimately, that is probably the scariest part of the movie.
I was about to say
real.
that. The scariest part of this movie is she was talking about how her neighbor was a stalker, and her final, like, when he was caught, was him trying to undress her while she was asleep.
He broke into their house, like her family house,
But they're telling this story. She tells this story after you see the first kill, actually. Because I wasn't sure if they were going to show nudity again when she was talking about her story, because they had already shown nudity. And that's what the other thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, one of the friends immediately dies.
They're like, they've got one friend who's like, I'm going to stay in the car because in the house, no phones is our rule. We're going like off the grid. And so she's like, well, I got a something Instagram. I'm the girl with the phone. And she walks away and she turns, and this is what I was talking about. She just sees Pooh standing there, the dude, and he's just fully in frame, not in shadow, not anything, and he just runs at her. And she runs away, and there's no obscuring, there's no lighting, there's no anything.
Because they thought the costumes looked good.
And so she runs away, and she goes into basically a fucking garbage house.
Some kind of like shed or barn or something.
And she's hiding from Pooh, and then he finds her, and he tears off her shirt so she's topless for a scene. There's no other nudity in this movie that existed just so they could get boobs in the movie.
It's so weird.
It's gross. It's the classic horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only thing that this movie didn't do that all these degenerate movies did is they didn't try to rape her.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking. That's the one thing. This movie is this much above that. And then Pooh smashes her head on the wall a bunch and then throws her in a meat grinder. Yeah. Or in a wood chipper.
She gets fucking...
Did that freak you out, by the way? The way her head kind of bisects on the edge of the wood chipper?
That did. I think the next kill was probably the worst one for me. With the car.
Oh, okay.
That was the worst one for me.
So he smashes her head on the wood chipper and it's dimly lit. And it's like on the edge, so her head breaks in. And then he puts her in the wood chipper. And it's just so edgy. It's just so fucking lame.
I couldn't help because like they make it a point at the beginning of the movie to be like these are, part human, part beast, horrific hybrid monstrosities. And when Christopher Robin abandoned them, they gave up their humanity. But they also specify they vowed never to speak again, which is just so they don't have to.
Yeah.
But like, okay, they vowed never to speak again. But they'll still wear clothes. They still use tools. There's a brief instance where one of them is driving a vehicle. They're not giving up their humanity.
No, I don't want to figure out what they're going to say in the movie. And the guy I hired can't do a good Winnie the Pooh impersonation that's also scary. So they vowed to give up their humanity.
By never speaking.
And that's what... So she gets killed, and it's an edgy kill, and it's like, oh my God... Like, it's those things where it's like, I don't mind if there's a freaky kill. You want a good kill in a horror movie, but you can tell that they think it's just so, it's so dark.
This is the classic. We are just like Friday the 13th.
We're so dark, dude. They can't even handle it. And so then we go back inside, and no one's bothered to check where this phone woman is, and they never once bring her up again in the movie.
She's just gone, and they're like, huh.
And like when she left, someone's like, she needs her own time, but no one once looks for her.
They don't even know she's gone because there's no body to find.
No. then she tells the story of her stalker. And that's the only like tense part in the movie is when she rolls her shoulder and it reveals an old man next to her bed stalking her.
That was so terrifying.
It's the only point.
Oh my god.
The rest of the movie I watched stone faced, but I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a fucking jump scare.
Yeah.
But like an intelligent one.
Yeah.
It's a happy accident. Broken clocks right twice a day. I don't remember what happens after this.
There's a girl who
Jacuzzi. Okay, you want to talk about that?
Sure, because
I talked about this movie for about 5 minutes straight.
Sure. So this girl goes out. One of them goes out to a jacuzzi, and
told the director, "No, I'm not doing it topless."
Yeah,
I can only assume.
Yeah. So she goes out there. And they must know something is up because she looks around and she's like, I'm not letting you fucking ruin this for me.
Because she's taking selfies and in the back of her selfie, she sees fucking Pooh standing there. Oh, and she's like, you're not ruining this for me, you fucking stalker. Regardless of what he looks like, best case scenario, some dude 6'6" in a mask is on your property in the middle of the woods.
Who weighs like 4 of you.
Police immediately.
So she turns on this outdoor light and it immediately is doing like the flickering bad, and so she's sitting in the jacuzzi drinking something out of a wine glass or champagne glass.
Alone. It's so cheap and lame. Like everything in this movie, by the way, is cheap and lame.
Everything is cheap and lame. And like this exterior backyard looks like a different house.
It is. We can film here.
Yeah. He's got a hot tub. Let us film in his backyard in the woods.
Yeah, it's a suburban, like a well-off patio.
Yeah, instead of, because like the house that she comes out of or that we see kind of off to the side is maybe 1 or 2 stories. This is a huge cabin that they're staying in of, big vaulted ceilings, probably on the outside, looks like it's 3 stories.
It's an old cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
She is in a manicured lawn with a jacuzzi.
Yes. And like, it like the light is like flickering and it's very clearly set up. Like we see a long shot behind her. It's like, oh, Pooh's gonna come out of those woods. Honestly, the juke out in this I thought was really funny because we do see Pooh out in the distance, and he's just sauntering up. He's just walking up, and it's like that's not very scary. But then Piglet comes out of nowhere and like chloroforms her.
Yeah.
Like Pooh is like walking up, and he's barely made it up to the
again chloroform.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, like just fucking like
these guys are animalistic, insane people who have gone nuts in the woods
because they had to eat their friend.
Chloroform? Like why wouldn't he just like it can be the exact same scene, but he punches her and it knocks her out. And movie logic, no one would complain.
It could have been something as simple as clock her in the back of the skull. She drowns in the pool.
Well, I'm just saying, even if you want to set up the way she dies, but you need to move scenes, clock her in the back of the skull. She falls over.
Yeah.
She falls in the pool. They pick her up out of it. What? Like, why chloroform?
Chloroform was an odd choice, but she wakes up fucking hogtied
on the ground,
on the pavement, and Winnie the Pooh is driving their car, and Piglet is just standing there watching.
Well, he revs the engine, the lights go on. You go, oh my God, she's going to get hit by a car. Then Piglet walks over and he's holding a sledgehammer. You think he's going to sledgehammer her, and the car's for lights? Like for light?
Yeah.
And then he puts his weight on her, and he just holds her in place while Pooh slowly drives the car tire over her head.
And then just holds it there, and it just slowly crushes her. I hated that. I had to look away.
See, I looked. It's really shitty CG.
Here's the thing. I saw it happening. I was like, oh, that looks bad. I look look at my phone, something for a distraction. It's like I hear it, I'll know when it's over. I look up for a second and I just see like an eye popped out, and I'm like, nope.
It doesn't. If you see it in real time, though, it's not that it wouldn't freak you out because you don't like that sort of gore or anything. I'm just saying, as someone who can watch gore and just, like I said, dead inside.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh, this looks like shit ass garbage. So like even the scary parts are like and again, it's supposed to be it's so mean-spirited. It's so clearly someone jerking off behind the camera on how edgy and dark it could be. Like, it's not...
Because it's Winnie the Pooh.
Dude, it's not just he runs her over. He runs her over slow, and her head crushes. But she gets tied up, and Piglet holds her in place, and he's got a sledgehammer. Like, it's like fucking... It is the edgiest 14-year-old horse shit. It's just... It's like I said, like, it's pathetic. I can't even be embarrassed because, like, everyone who made the creative choices behind this movie is just like nothing to me.
Remember way earlier today, I don't even remember if we were recording, when I said, just talking about two kids in a trench coat. That's who made this. It was two children.
Not even children, though. Children are nicer than this. This is like a stunted growth. This is just, it was directed by a Full Throttle.
So, two of the girls inside, so we're down to 4?
4.
We're down to 4, and two of them are like, hey, people are missing, maybe we should look around. They go out front, they're like, that's weird, why is the car on? Holy shit, and they just point at the body.
Yeah, we're like 40 minutes into this movie that's only 80 minutes long at this point.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, there's a body. And they run inside.
And they get everyone. And they're like, listen, there's a fucking gun upstairs. And they pull out... blood on the window says, get out. And it's like, oh, okay. And they grab the fucking Dirty Harry from the goddamn... Why?
It's the most prop-looking gun I've ever seen.
Not prop-looking, but also they're like, there's a gun in case of emergencies or whatever in this house. That's weird alone, but...
I was imagining like an old hunting rifle in an old cabin.
Old hunting rifle, old shotgun, even 9mm like home defense handgun or whatever. Who the fuck is like, and if there's I've got a 6-shot Magnum. Oh, here you go, 105-pound woman. Just let one of these, like,
recoil would break her wrist.
Like, and the way she's holding it, like, no one in that, like, the characters clearly don't fire guns, right? No, none of them are like, when she says there's a gun, they're like, oh, okay. But it's like, you're gonna,
which I'm gonna say it. I was looking. She didn't have very good trigger discipline.
Yeah.
I needed something.
So then they go down a hallway and they see Pooh through a window, just look around. And this is where I noticed that CGI ear thing moving, where I was like, oh my God.
His ears do a little wiggle.
Like he's listening for sound. I was like, that looks like shit. And then really terrible CGI bees fly by.
Apparently the bees were the biggest part of the budget.
What?
Apparently the CGI bees cost the most.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because they could have been not in the movie.
It could have been.
Like, because they went zzz, and I was like, what the fuck were that? And I didn't even realize they were bees till the end of the movie when they show up again. And because I immediately forgot about them. Yeah. Because 2 of them split off and...
into an indoor pool?
Yeah. That also looks like a different building.
Yeah, it looks like an old abandoned hotel, if you know how indoor hotel pools
look.
I liked this kill, I'm not gonna lie. I liked the framing on this.
So one woman falls over.
Not that one. The one...
She's, like, knocked unconscious.
Yeah, and Piglet is about to, like, drop the hammer.
And then he sees the other woman running away from him in the pool.
I think it's dumb to get into the pool.
Oh, yeah. He gets into the pool to chase her instead of walking alongside it. Like, where are you going to go? It's a pool.
But I liked the framing on the kill because we're at, like, the far end of the pool, a long ways down the pool, and Piglet just batter up, swings, and it's just a single hit with the hammer.
But he's
and she's
swinging
down.
And missing, and he's bobbing through, and it looks like shit.
But when it makes contact, I liked that frame.
I did not, because the kill is CGI blood. It's a little blood effect. Popped right over her face.
Okay.
I could tell immediately. I was like, that's a plug-in. Hammer to the face. It has the brutal sound effect. I'll give you that. Okay. It's like the...
okay, CGI aside, I liked the framing.
Okay. I didn't, but...
Okay.
No. I'm just saying. But all I want to say, a sledgehammer hitting you is scarier than getting hogtied and put on the ground and then a car and then someone stands on you and then the car runs over. Because it's so complicated and edgy, it's just nothing. But a hammer just hitting you is like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like simpler, makes more sense.
That's why, slasher movies get like the more and more we let these sequels drag on, the less and less, because they become more and more supernatural. Like the first couple Halloweens, first couple Friday the 13th, when it's just a dude in a mask with a knife.
He's gonna fucking stab. And there's some cool kills in there, but still, it's like he'll stab you.
By Friday the 13th, part 7, when he's just like folding a dude in half on a tree, it's like, all right, Buster.
So now the unconscious woman wakes up chained up somewhere.
Yeah.
And Pooh just starts slapping. Like I think it's supposed to be clawing. Like, is it because he digs out of honey in the original show? Is that why this is his kill?
With the honey?
Where he just slaps.
Sure.
I couldn't figure out. It looks like shit.
It does.
And then we find out he wasn't slapping her.
I know he's like putting honey on everything towards the second half of the movie.
And he's covered in honey.
Yeah.
But we find out he wasn't slapping
honey.
her. He was slapping this other woman they kidnapped, who I think you saw earlier in the movie when they stopped for gas, like right on their way to this thing. I think that's that British woman they meet.
Charlene.
Is that really her name?
I don't know why.
Sounds right. Charlene. So Charlene says, save me. They unhook her and she's like, give me this fucking gun. I'm going to go get revenge on Piglet.
He made my face ugly.
And so
she looks in the mirror and freaks out.
So then she like knocks out Piglet and she chains him up and starts beating him.
And then Winnie the Pooh doesn't like that.
And she may or may not kill him. It's unclear. But Winnie hears her and so then just runs and kills her. And the gun's out of the movie now. So I don't know why it was ever this fucking goddamn hand cannon. I don't remember how, because there's 3 women left now. One of them dies. I don't remember how. I think one of them just grab her.
Christopher Robin is reintroduced at some point.
That's what I wanted to talk about. They find Christopher Robin. Or we find out Christopher Robin is still alive.
And he's chained up crucified style, being whipped and slashed all over.
He's chained, being whipped by his dead wife's hair turned into a whip. And then the dead bodies are put into a meat grind, or like are gutted, and then the blood is put into a faucet, which rains blood on Christopher Robin. This is how they are making him pay. This is so pathetically edgy.
It's so much.
I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but I don't have any other words. Like, fucking look up synonyms for pathetic. I don't know, because I'm just
sad.
It's sad. I'm sad for everyone who made this movie, who wrote these scenes, who was in them, who thought they were good, who thought it was anything. Anyone who thinks this movie has anything to offer. And so anyway, Christopher Robin is back, and he says, I'll save you, because they rescue him. The women die. I don't remember how. I remember one of them dies, and so now we're down to, like, quote unquote main girl, therapist, the girl who was in therapy, and the glasses girl, and they're getting chased in a car, and then Winnie the Pooh crashes
the truck
crashes their car, and so glasses flies through the window, and then Winnie grabs her, and then main girl is in the car, and then glasses' girl's head lands on the window. She's been decapitated.
Yeah. We're almost there, folks. We're almost done.
Winnie the Pooh grabs therapy girl, and Christopher Robin shows up and he's like, leave her alone, and he hits him with a car.
They end up in like a nebulous, they're just in the woods with a fire.
Oh, because 3 truckers show up to save her and they all get killed. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't matter. We end up.
Takes too long too. They keep going back and forth.
Yeah. I'm so fucking mad. Okay, so Christopher Robin says, I'll stay, you're like this because of me, let her go, to this woman who he has no idea who she is, but he's just like, no, please, you can trust me, they were my friends once, you can trust me, why are you doing this, what is going on? And we get Winnie the Pooh's one line of dialogue.
I don't even remember. I know he speaks.
You left.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, and then slits her throat. It's like, why are you doing this? You left. Slits her throat.
He stabs her in the face.
Sure.
Because then he keeps stabbing her over and over again.
Sure, she dies. And then, like, when he lets go, and then he's holding her like, no. It's like, you don't know this woman. Why are you clutching to her like she's your wife?
And then he runs away.
Does Christopher Robin get away?
And he's just stabbing the corpse.
This movie's dog shit, and I'm so...
Or is he stabbing Christopher Robin?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I thought Christopher Robin got away, and it just ends with a car exploding, and you see Winnie stabbing some woman over and over again. So none of it mattered. I love schlocky horror garbage. I understand some cheapo shit. This is not it, dog.
I hate it here.
This is not it. Happy Halloween, everybody. Trick or treat. It's pretty good. Put it on at a party.
Stay safe out there.
Don't ever watch this movie. If you meet anyone who watches this movie, take them to the woods. You got anything? You said you don't get an opportunity a lot to get angry. You want to get anything off your chest?
It's not even worth my time anymore.
Really? I'm not gonna cut you. I'm not gonna cut the feed you or anything like that. If you wanna really let these fuckers have it, hit me with what you think about, like, anything. Get it off your chest. Let the anger flow through you.
How can you still look at your mother after making this? How can you still feel like a respectable human being that exists in society?
This is like a crime.
Do you have someone? Do you sleep next to someone? Do you roll over in the morning and look at a loved one? Or are you just like a sad, pathetic, lonely, miserable person whose only purpose in life is to make other people even the smidgest as miserable as you are every day? I pray you get therapy and it doesn't work. I pray that nothing can fix you and you're just like this, because I would hate to think that we live in a world where systems have failed you. You have failed the world.
Happy Halloween, everybody.